Problem 2-17. If p of x equals x squared plus 5x minus 6, find, letter A, where p of x intersects the y-axis. If we're trying to figure out where it's going to intersect the y-axis, we need to be thinking about, we're looking for the y-intercept. So remember, every point on the y-axis is going to have an x-coordinate of 0. So we're going to plug in for our x's 0 to figure out where it crosses. So you'll see here, when we do that, I'll do it right over here. I'm going to plug in 0 as my input. And I'm going to have 0 squared plus 5 times 0 minus 6. Well, 0 squared is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, and then when we subtract 6, we're going to get function p of 0 equals negative 6. So it intersects our y-axis at negative 6. Letter B, where p of x intersects the x-axis. So if we're trying to figure out where it's going to cross the x-axis, remember we're looking for our x-intercepts. In this case, we're thinking about where our output is 0. And because I know this is a parabola, I know already here that it could intersect at least twice. So we'll look at it here. Here's our x-intercepts. So let's take it here. We want our output to be 0. Our y has to be 0 here. So we're going to set up our equation as 0 equals x squared plus 5x minus 6. And we're going to solve it for x. Now you can use whatever method you choose. You can look to factor. You can use the quadratic formula. However, you feel it is going to get you to your answer most assuredly, so you know that you've got it. I'm going to factor it here. So if you're going to factor, you can go ahead and factor whichever way you know how to factor, but your answer should end up being x plus 6 times the quantity of x minus 1. Now we have to take that and use our zero product property. So we have 0 is going to equal x plus 6. Or 0 could equal x minus 1 because their product is 0. So one of them has to equal 0. When we subtract our 6, we get negative 6 equals x. And over here we get 1 equals x. So when y is 0, our x value is negative 6 or 1. So we have a negative 6. Remember, this is a different point than that y-intercept there. And 1, 0. If q of x equals x squared plus 5x, find the intercepts of q of x and compare the graphs of p of x and q of x. So this one is very similar to the one we have up here, but you'll see that we're missing the c term, or minus 6 there. So if we were going to find the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts, we could do the exact same thing. And I'll switch colors for this one here. So this one we're doing in blue. So letter C. We're going to say here, if I want to get my y-intercept, remember I'm going to plug in 0 for my x. So my input 0, let's see what the output is. So q of 0 is going to equal 0 squared plus 5 times 0. In which case 0 squared is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, so we get q of 0 equals 0. So the y-intercept is going to be at the origin, 0, 0. The x-intercepts, let's see what those are going to be, and then we'll check them all in the graphing calculator when we're finished. So now remember, our outputs are going to be 0. So when we take this, we're going to set, instead of q of 0, we're going to take it here and we have our output is 0. And we're now going to solve for our x. So we have 0 equals x squared plus 5x. So the first thing we do here in order to solve it, I'm going to try to solve by factoring. I'm going to look for the greatest common factor. And that's going to be an x in this case. So when we factor out that x, we're going to have x times x gives us x squared. So we've got an x in here. And x times 5 gives us 5x. So we're going to have x plus 5. Now, once again, we're going to use the zero product property. Set each of these equal to 0. So you've got x equals 0, and x plus 5 could equal 0. This one's already solved. That's nice and convenient for us. And then when we subtract 5 from each side, we should get x equals -5. So our x-intercepts would be at the origin again, and also at our -5, 0. Okay, so let's graph these two real quick here so we can see. So the first one, I'm going to graph x squared plus 5x minus 6. X squared plus 5x minus 6. And let's graph it. And you see here, we're looking to figure out where our y-intercept is. And when we go down here, you'll see, or you can look at the table. When our x value is 0, you'll see our y value is -6. So we know that's correct. And then we're going to be looking for the x-intercepts. So we're looking for when y is 0. So you'll see there's one right here. When x is 1, y is 0. We know that's correct. And let's go back here. -6, 0. That's the other one we had there. So when you look at your graph, you'll see -6, 0, and 1, 0. Now let's put that other graph on here. Let's go down, let's arrow down and put a second function on. We're going to say x squared plus 5x. And let's graph that one now. So it looks like our graph has been shifted up. Okay, so the other one here was down. This one shifted up 6 units here. So we see it crosses the x-axis at 0, 0 and at -5, 0. And you can also see that on the table. When we're at -5, we're at 0 as our output. And at 0, we're at 0 as our output. And then our y-intercept there is also that same point. It crosses right through the origin. So that's an x and a y-intercept. The last part of this one here is going to ask us to do p of x minus q of x. So let's take out these two expressions that we have. We know what p of x equals. It equals x squared plus 5x minus 6. So we're going to substitute that in. This became that. And then we have this minus here, so we're going to subtract. We're subtracting all of q of x. So since q of x is a quantity, let's put it in parentheses. So minus q of x, which is x squared plus 5x. Let's distribute our negative sign through here, or subtraction. So we have x squared plus 5x minus 6, and then we're taking away an x squared, and we're taking away a 5x. In the end, now when we combine our like terms, those are opposites, so they're going to zero out. We have 5x and -5x are going to zero out, and we're going to end up with -6. That is going to be the answer for letter D. So that equals -6. This is problem 2-17. If you have any additional questions, please make sure you take time to ask your teacher. Thanks for watching.